I'm 31. Hey guys, your Chiba-san back at it with another video, and today we are talking about Pokemon X and Y, and why I believe it deserves an apology. When it comes to this game, honestly, a lot of people say that it's the black sheep, if not the worst mainline Pokemon entry in the series, but honestly, after giving it a go, because of my excitement for Pokemon Legends EA, I come to realize that this game gets way more hate than it deserves. But before I explain myself, guys, if you don't mind giving the video a like or subscribing to the channel, we do a lot of variety content just like this every single week, so if you want to keep up to date with everything that we do over here in the Yurichima-san channel, hit that subscribe button. But anyways guys, let me tell you why I believe Pokemon X and Y deserve an apology. Alright, I owe Pokemon X and Y an apology, and not just on behalf of the fans, but for me personally, because here's the thing, I actually loved X and Y when they first came out. I went to the midnight launch, I played it non-stop, and I thought it was this amazing return of form for Pokemon. But then a couple years later, when everyone started saying, yeah, X and Y is where Pokemon started going downhill, I just nodded and went along with it. I shrugged, agreed, and kind of convinced myself the game wasn't that great after all. And now with Pokemon Legends EA on the horizon, a direct sequel to X and Y, I decided to go back and replay them, and let me tell you, I was wrong. These games don't deserve the hate they got. If anything, they deserve an apology. But before I dive in, quick story time. Pokemon has been with me basically my whole life. My very first video game ever was Pokemon Red. My babysitter Diego, yes, Diego, the guy I've mentioned before, shows up one day with his bright yellow Game Boy. I ask him what it is. He tells me it's called a Game Boy and he's playing Pokemon. He lets me borrow it for a week, but with one rule: don't start a new save file. Naturally, within 2 days, I wiped this whole team and started fresh. I was 5, cut me some slack. To this day, I think Diego's still salty about it. But hey, thanks to him, I was hooked. I was that kid dressing up as Pikachu, Charmeleon, and Ash for back-to-back Halloweens. My dad even had to sit through Pokemon the first movie 4 times in theaters because I wouldn't shut up about it. Sorry, Dad. Point is, Pokemon was everything to me. Until high school when it suddenly wasn't cool anymore. I tried to fit in, dropped games for a while, and ended up missing out on Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Black and White, and their sequels. But in college, Pokemon X and Y were announced, and they brought me back. These were the first true 3D Pokemon games. Seeing that reveal trailer blew my mind. Kalos looked stunning, the Pokemon looked alive, and I couldn't believe how far the series had come since I last played. So yeah, I pre-ordered, hit the midnight launch, and man, that first playthrough was nothing but joy. X and Y are the games that made me stop being embarrassed about liking Pokemon. They're the reasons I proudly said, yeah, I'm back. But a few years later, I was in a conversation with some friends about where Pokemon started to go wrong. I assumed they were going to say Sword and Shield, or maybe Scarlet and Violet with its performance issues, but no, they pointed straight at X and Y. I pushed back at first, like, really? That game brought me back. But after a while, I just kind of accepted it. I convinced myself maybe they were right. Maybe X and Y really were rough. Fast forward to now, Legends EA gets announced, a direct sequel to X and Y, and I'm excited. But then I realized, wait, if I'm going to play this, I should actually revisit Kalos. So I did, and you know what? I owe these games an apology. Because yeah, they got flaws, but they also did so much right, and a lot of that is still underappreciated today. So let's start with the biggest thing, the jump to 3D. Up until this point, Pokemon was living in the pixel sprite era, and don't get me wrong, those sprites were gorgeous, but X and Y made the leap into full 3D worlds and battles, and it was stunning. The battle backgrounds had detail, the Pokemon finally looked like living creatures, and Kalos itself just felt alive. Honestly, even today, I put it up there as one of the best looking games on the 3DS. It's got this clean cel-shaded look that hasn't aged a bit, and then there's Mega Evolutions. Now this was a game changer, literally. Suddenly Pokemon you thought you knew got these insane new forms and powers mid-battle. The first time I saw Mega Charizard, I felt like I was 10 years old again staring at a holographic card for the first time. It wasn't just a gimmick either. Mega Evolution actually added strategy. Do you use it right away for raw power, or hold off until the perfect moment? People still beg for it to come back today, and honestly, I'm right there with them. Speaking of shakeups, this was a game that introduced Fairy type. For years, Dragon types were basically gods, and nothing really balanced them. Then Fairy shows up, and suddenly Dragon trainers had something real to fear. At first I thought, Fairy? Really? But it clicked so well. It added depth, it balanced the meta, and it gave us some really cool new Pokemon in the process. Another thing I loved, trainer customization. Finally, you weren't just generic Pokemon kid number 27. You could pick outfits, hair, accessories, make the trainer actually feel like you. That may not sound huge now, but back then it was everything. Combine that with Pokemon and Me, where you could pet and feed your Pokemon, and the connection felt so much stronger. I wasn't just raising a team, I was bonding with them. Now the big one, gameplay changes. Yes, X and Y are easy, probably the easiest games in the series, but hear me out, easy doesn't mean bad. The new experience share meant your whole team leveled up together, and yeah, it made the challenge lighter, but you know what it also did? It killed needless grinding. I never liked catching a new Pokemon and realizing it was 40 levels behind my team, which basically meant congrats, you'll never use this one. In X and Y, you could finally build the team you wanted without babysitting every new catch for hours. That was huge for me. And I can't forget the online features. The PSS system, Wonder Trade, instant access to friends. It was amazing at the time. I remember sitting in my first apartment trading with people around the world instantly. For handheld Pokemon, that was mind-blowing. Sure, it doesn't work anymore, but back in 2013, it changed how we connected with the series. And lastly, the Pokédex. Kalos gave us a huge variety of Pokemon, and for once, a lot of the cool ones weren't locked away until the very end. You could build a dream team from the start. I know some people say it made rare Pokemon less special, but honestly, I'd rather use the team I want than settle for the B squad because the fun ones are buried post-game. Now don't get me wrong, X and Y aren't perfect. Let's talk about the stuff people call it out for. First, the villains. Team Flare is not great. Lissandra's whole "let's make the world beautiful by destroying it" shtick didn't land. Compared to Team Rocket, Aqua, or Plasma, they felt like cosplay rejects at best. I'll give that criticism full credit, they're forgettable. Then there's the difficulty. Like I said, these games are a cakewalk. Gym leaders, Elite Four, even the champion, they just don't push you the way older games did. I get why that frustrates fans, especially if you came straight off the challenge of Black and White 2. But for me, while it's definitely a flaw, it's not a deal breaker. Another complaint is the pacing of the story. Some folks feel like it's disjointed, lots of big characters but not much payoff. And I get that too, but while the story stumbles, I think the journey through Kalos itself makes up for it. It's one of the most charming regions in the series. French-inspired, beautiful towns, stylish characters, it just feels different from the other regions. And finally, some people really don't like the Pokemon designs here. And sure, not all of them are winners. Barbarcool is a lot. But then you got Greninja, one of the coolest starters ever, who ended up in Smash Brothers for crying out loud. Talonflame, Sylveon, Aegislash, there's a lot of great stuff here too. The highs outweigh the lows for me. So yeah, Pokemon X and Y. I didn't just let other people hate on it, I joined them. I ignored what the game actually meant to me and I went along with the crowd. But after replaying them, I can confidently say, this one deserves better. Pokemon's had its ups and downs. Sword and Shield's controversies, Scarlet and Violet's technical mess, I've seen it all. But replaying X and Y reminded me that this series can still evolve, and that even flawed games can be magical. And with Legends EA coming right around the corner, now's the perfect time to revisit them. If you skipped X and Y because of bad word of mouth, or if you, like me, wrote them off too quickly, give them another shot. They're not perfect, but the Kalos region, that's one place that deserves to be remembered. See, I understand he's supposed to look like an X, but if he were to stand straight, he would look like a Y, and then it would be Pokemon Y and Y, and I just... whatever, dude. Well, guys, that's why I believe Pokemon X and Y deserve an apology. I know a lot of people think this is like the black sheep of the franchise, but I still think I'll give that crown to Pokemon Sword and Shield just because of how excited everybody was for that game and then how let down we all felt together when it came out. But let me know what you guys think. Am I completely crazy in saying this game deserves an apology, or do you also feel like this game is, super hated for no reason? Also, let me know which generation is your favorite. For me, it's always going to be Generation 3 for so many reasons. Maybe one day I'll make a video about it, but Generation 3 is just peak Pokemon in my opinion. But regardless, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all so much, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.